Hi there, Alex here at mixinglessons.com. In this video, we're going to have a look at how to use the different edit modes in Pro Tools. So in Pro Tools, you've got 4 different edit modes. You've got Shuffle, Spot, Slip, and Grid. And each of these allow you to move regions or your recordings around in your session in different ways. So knowing what each of these different ones does allows you to really streamline your editing. Before we get started, as always, I've got 3 free guides to give you a bit of a head start in your home studio. I've got an EQ cheat sheet, a compression cheat sheet, and a vocal recording guide. And you can get all 3 of those completely free by heading over to mixinglessons.com/free-downloads, and the link to that is in the description. Okay, so I've got some drum tracks here: kick drum, snare drum, rack tom, floor tom, overhead left, overhead right, and a room mic. But obviously, these different edit modes are going to work the same no matter what your recording is of. So it could be vocals, it could be guitars, could be piano. Whatever it is, each of these different edit modes will work exactly the same. But there is a reason that I'm demonstrating this with drums rather than a single track like vocals. If you have something like a drum kit where each part of the kit is being recorded by a different microphone, or if you have something like a stereo recording of a piano or a stereo recording of an acoustic guitar, or if you've recorded a guitar amp using maybe 2 microphones, then when you move things around in your session, you probably don't want individual tracks to move independently from the others. So if I were to click on this kick drum and move it, we don't really want this kick drum to move on its own, because this kick drum is now out of time with the rest of the kit. The same would be true of something like a stereo recording of an acoustic guitar. If you grab one track and move it, ideally what you would like is for all of the tracks to move at once so that things stay in time with one another. We don't really want to have to move each one individually and then try and line up the others with it. So what we need to do is we need to group these tracks together. To do that, we simply highlight all of the tracks that we want to be able to move at the same time, and come down here to this arrow, click New Group, give it a name, and click OK. And so now, with all of these tracks grouped together, when we click on any one of these tracks, it will move all of the tracks at the same time. And so when we're using these different edit modes to move these tracks around, this whole drum kit recording is going to move at the same time. So everything stays in time with itself. But then, of course, if you wanted to be able to move one of the tracks independently, you could just come down here, click on the group, and that will turn it off, and then you'll be able to move tracks individually again. But for now, we'll keep the group turned on so that everything moves at the same time. So let's go through what each of these different edit modes does. So slip mode allows you to move things around completely freely in the edit window. So you can move these tracks to wherever you want them to be, and you can make very, very small, tiny adjustments. Grid mode works a little bit differently. When we're in grid mode, when we move things around, our regions will snap to the grid in Pro Tools. So if you see here, we have bar 1, beat 1, bar 1, beat 2, bar 1, beat 3, bar 1, beat 4, and it gives you these grid lines. If you can't see those, you can toggle the grid lines on and off here, so you can turn them off and turn them back on again. And what will happen is, as you move your regions around, they will snap to the grid. So if you know that your track comes in on the beat, we have this kick drum here and it comes in on the beat and everything is in time going forwards, and we decide that we want these drums to come in on bar 2, beat 1 instead of bar 1, beat 1, we can move those over to here in grid mode and it will snap to the grid. Or if we want them to start on bar 3, beat 1, we can move them there and we know that that will be perfectly in time with the grid. Whereas if we were to try and do that in slip mode, we would have to manually try and line that up with the grid. Whereas grid mode will automatically snap to the grid for us. One little tip to be aware of is, while you're in grid mode, if you did want to move things around in the way that you would if you were in slip mode, then you can hold down Command and that will allow you to move things in the way that you would in slip mode. And then if you let go of Command, things will start to snap to the grid again. Next we have Shuffle mode. Shuffle mode means that when you move these regions, the things around them will also move in order to accommodate where you move the regions to. So if we just create a break here by going to Edit, Separate Clip at Selection, so we have 2 different sets of regions now. In Shuffle mode, if we try and move these regions to the beginning, it moves the regions that were at the beginning to the end to accommodate where we've moved these regions to. If we undo that and have a look at what would happen in slip mode, if we tried to move these regions to the beginning, what it would do is it would just place them over the top of those other regions. So we've lost the regions that were at the beginning. Now, they're not gone completely. We can undo that and they come back. And if we were to just drag this region forward just a little, it would just cover up part of the regions that were at the beginning. And again, we would lose those regions. They're not gone completely. We can drag this back and then we can drag these regions back and regain them. But as we moved things around, if we tried to place something over the top of something else, it would just replace it. Whereas in shuffle mode, if we try and move something, it will move the other regions around to accommodate it. And then finally we have spot mode. And what spot mode does is, if we click on any of these regions, it will open this dialog and it will ask us where we want this region to go. So let's say we want these regions to start at bar 3, beat 1. We press OK and it moves everything for us. So to very briefly recap, slip mode allows us to move things completely freely. Grid mode snaps things to the grid. Shuffle mode means that when we move things around, the regions around whatever it is that we're moving will also move to accommodate. And spot mode means that when we click on a region, it will ask us where we want that region to move to. And so by getting used to using these 4 different modes, you can really streamline and optimize your editing process. So I hope you found this useful. Don't forget to get that free EQ cheat sheet, that free compression cheat sheet, and that free vocal recording guide. The link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.